Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome, happy Wellness Wednesday. Thank you for being here with us today. Excited about today's topic about who are we and where do we want to go and who do we want to be. And so this is a part 2 of last month and just kind of piggybacking off of last month that we're going to be doing. But first of all, May is Mental Health Month. Mental Health Awareness Month, End the Stigma, Make It Okay. As you know, I'm a huge advocate for our mental health brothers and sisters that live with and often suffer with in silence mental health issues and are afraid to speak about it or don't receive treatment for whatever reasons. So I really feel like we've come a long way and look forward to when we go even further to where that people just aren't afraid anymore to talk about, mental health. So many different facets of mental health and why we get them. So a bit in honor, I had written a poem. I wrote poetry for many, many, many years. And as I've become healthier again, I have found myself writing poetry. So I'm going to look at the screen and I'm going to read this to you. And this is something that I wrote recently. Sometimes we feel overwhelmed and we don't know why. There's not always a reason. Sometimes we want to curl up and cry. It could just be the season. Sometimes we don't want to talk to anyone and live in some silence for a bit. Take a break, take some time. It does not mean you've quit. Sometimes people get on our last nerve and we want everyone to go away. There doesn't always have to be a reason. It could just be one of those days. Sometimes I feel worthless and question my purpose in being. I have to stop and remind myself that I don't have to listen to that inner voice. It's mean. Sometimes we don't want to answer our phone. Don't make it about you. It's not always personal. Everybody needs some time alone. Why do I feel this way? Why today? Why do I feel as though I need healing? We don't have to have the answer. Life is life. Embrace it. Do something about it. Relax. It could just be a momentary feeling. Don't give up. Keep moving on. You can do this. I got your back. We've all heard them say. Take some time to relax, reflect, and recoup. You only have yourself to answer to at the end of the day. Live in love. Love yourself. Usually my poems are indicative of where I'm at, in life. And we'll go on talking about, this past year and everything else and how there just doesn't always have to be a reason, right? Why maybe we're not feeling so balanced and, that sometimes it's just a bad day and embracing it. One of my favorite books is called Embracing the Fear and just embracing it and going, okay, it could be momentary, I can do this. So checking in. So the last month since I talked to you guys, I had a birthday, and I also had my 23rd year anniversary with the county. I started when I was about 12, and I started when I was 23. So I have spent half my life working for Fresno County Department of Behavioral Health, and for that I am so grateful. So the first picture you see there is my son and I, little celebration for my birthday. That we had at home. Then the next one was a late celebration with one of my best friends, Emily, who used to work for the county and now lives in San Luis Obispo and is over there. The next one is my mama. Happy late Mother's Day to all of you mothers out there that celebrated. And the next one is a day that we spent with my grandmother, who's 91 years old. And you see 5 generations there with my granddaughter, one with the red hair that I'm holding, And then my grandmother, Celica, who's in the bed. And it's so fun to watch because you've got a 3-year-old and a 91-year-old who are both feisty and playing with each other. Like, it's really hilarious to watch. But it's also such a godsend to have 5 generations still living. That's not that common. And then the last one is my precious Sunny, my granddaughter, who I've shared pictures of before, and she's now at that 3-year mark and 3 months. So if anybody has any tips, please let me know, because she's embracing her attitude and her personality. And under it, you see, am I being compassionate with others? And we'll get into that in a second. So in checking in with yourself, how are you doing? Are you being compassionate with yourself? During this time of change, I specifically chose these 4 pictures for a reason. We've got the first one that is indicative of kind of looking up. For me, that represented this past year of, when am I going to get out of this? When are we going to get out of this? Where's this light at the end of the tunnel? A year ago, I would have never guessed life would be the way it is now, right? And it's getting better for some of us. And then the next one for me that represented that there is that light at the end of the tunnel, and it's within reach. And last but not least, for me personally, I always feel like I need hope. I need to feel hopeful about something. I need to look forward to something. And I don't know about you guys, but as of late, I am feeling like there are things to look forward to now as we've moved into, for those of us who have been vaccinated, maybe that's, what is giving us that feeling, or for others who've chosen not to, just still the fact that things are kind of going back to some semblance of normalcy, even though we're not completely there yet. But in going back to that compassion with myself and others, I think it's really, really imperative that during this time that we are compassionate with ourselves as we go through these changes, with others as we go through these changes. We don't know how it's affecting other people. Yes, there's that light for many of us, but that light can also come, as we've spoken about before, you can have 2 feelings at once. I'm so excited that things are coming back to some semblance of normalcy. Oh, but wait, my God, now we're going to go through all these other changes again. And change is difficult for most people, right? So I would say be compassionate with yourself and don't be so hard on yourself. And also love thy neighbor. We don't know what our coworker, maybe sitting right next to us is going through. And I think we all need to be as patient as possible with people during this transition period. So, yes, and checking in. Last time I had been in an accident and stuff. Like I said, I've had a birthday since, I had a work anniversary, and life has felt much, much better as time has progressed, and looking forward to a whole lot coming up. So we are going to have a special guest today who we've had before, Rita Mejia, the clinical supervisor of RISE team, who's going to do a guided meditation. I really, really still believe, in taking a moment each day. There are 24 hours in a day, 1,440 minutes, and it's not going to kill us to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however many minutes, to just take a breather and to just breathe, relax, remembering that will lower our blood pressure and lower our heart rate. And we deserve that, right? We deserve to give that to ourselves. And a reminder that there are thousands of different types of meditations out there, and breathing exercises, and they're free, and there's free apps, and find something that works for you. You know, if you're into gardening or something, and, you know, maybe you just go, you know what, I'm going to focus on my breathing for a few minutes while I do this. And most of us know, right? You breathe in through what? Your nose, and then out through your mouth. And you try to hold it in for a few minutes. Yeah, so we're going to be following up on the who am I now? Who do I want to be? And then where do I begin? When we talk about who do I want to be, where do we begin with that? So who am I now? So I want this to sink in for a second. I absolutely love this. There are thousands of different versions of you out there in people's minds. A you exists in each version, and yet your you yourself is not a someone at all. So just read that for a second. And if you think about it, we've got Brian over here, who Brian has a version of Baltimore that he knows. Rita has a version of Baltimore that he knows. Out there, I'm sure there are versions of Baltimore that people don't like. And there are versions of Baltimore out there that people love. And when I first read this, I thought, my God, how true, because how unfortunate is it that maybe somebody only gets to see us on our bad day, you know, and we've only met them once. And there's that whole, you know, making of the first impression, you know, with someone, and why that's so important, because you may not have another chance. And so just let that sink in for a second. And then ask yourself, which version of you do you want remembered out there? Do you want the caring, loving you, patient you out there to be remembered, or maybe the one that's not really taking as much self-care of themselves as they should, and it's coming across negatively? But just ask yourself, what version of you do you want out there, and what can you do to get there? So we all remember this movie, right? And I just lost the name of it in my head. Brian, do you remember the name of this movie? Unbreakable. Many, many, many different personalities, right? So there's an example of how all these versions of this person, they were all real to him, right? Then this next one, are you being your authentic self? Are you around positive people? Is your space clear? And when I wrote that down, what I'm talking about is mentally. You know, how I kind of gauge if something is positive or negative, or if I need to deal with it, is I ask myself, how much of my brain is it consuming? How much of my brain is clear to let in positive? If I'm ruminating about something that I feel is negative, you know, I'll give you an example. Last week, I felt like a certain individual was really, really rude to me through email, and it upset me, and I vented to my supervisor, you know, because she's one of my support people, and then I let it go. And my reason for venting was because I did not want it to take up any more space in my head. For one, that person didn't deserve that space in my head. But two, I don't know what type of day they were having. But that's also an example of that different versions of you out there. That's the only version of that person I know. We shall see. Are you watering your own lawn? You know, before we judge our coworkers or our friends or family members, you know, about what they should be doing in their life or whatever, you know, I think it's imperative that we take a look at our own life and say, what am I doing to better my life? And why is what they're doing or not doing affecting me so much? Why is it my business? Now, if I care about somebody and I really want to help them do better in life, then that's different, right? Although I don't believe in unsolicited advice, but I'm talking more about those that we care about. You know, but if you're finding yourself spending a lot of time judging others, then I think it may be time to kind of look at your own lawn and start watering it. Somebody once said to me, if you spot it, you got it. If something's really bugging you about somebody, although I don't think that's always accurate, but it can be, and that's something we can take a look at, right? Are you putting out the energy you want in return? Are you putting out that best you, in those thousands of versions of you that are out there, and getting that in return from other people? And I absolutely loved that picture because you see that there's happy faces that this person can put on and mad faces and neutral. And, I can honestly say that each morning when I wake up, I have the same face on. I'm not having to pretend anymore. And that's a great feeling, of not having to put on a fake farce of a Baltimore, that I can just be genuinely me again. And having gone through trials and tribulations that have helped me to get to that point, it's just a really good feeling to not have to make a choice of, okay, who am I going to be today? And I think you guys understand what I mean by that. And please feel free to comment in the section. Oh, we have a lot of viewers today. That's awesome that are watching in real time. And I'll mention too, thank you for all those of you again that have emailed throughout the past month and who've called me and stuff and reached out to me. I've actually even had people reach out to me on Facebook. So without further ado, before we get into the topic of who are we and stuff, I'm going to bring in one of my best friends and people that I love so much in this world that to me is just a beacon of light and hope and just somebody I strive to be like at all times. And I mean that with all sincerity. And that's Rita Mejia, the clinical supervisor for the RISE team. And she's going to be doing a guided meditation. And I please ask of those of you that maybe aren't used to guided meditations, or like I said, maybe you have tried and, well, that's just not for me, is just try in the moment to really embrace it for your body, if not for yourself. Do it for your mind. Remember, lowering of blood pressure, lowering of heart rate, and just overall being able to slow down. So, Rita, would you like to take my place? So, I'll be back in a few minutes.
I look here. I'm looking at this, right? This one. Oh, this one. Hi. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. And thank you for that, Baltimore. That was very sweet. And I actually strive to be more like you, and transparent and open and free with your love. So I hope that I get to grow up and be like you. So today we're going to do a little bit of a meditation in the spirit of today's wellness webinar. So with that, I actually am going to return to one of my old teachers, A.H. Almas, and he does something called the diamond approach. And I think it's really something that would be relevant for today's times, and especially for our department. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview, and then we'll go into the meditation. So this meditation is about understanding that we get influenced or impacted by other things in the world and in the community, and that we always return to our inner diamond within, our most authentic, true, shining self. And so that's what this meditation is going to be based on. So if you can join me. So I'm going to ask you or invite you to put both feet touching the ground and relax your shoulders. And let yourself sit upright comfortably. You don't have to be straight back, but upright, so that you can allow the air in your body to freely move up and down. And the idea that you would also allow spirit to move freely up and down through you, whatever tradition that is for you. And if you feel comfortable, wherever you're at, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, or you can leave them slightly opened if you're somebody that's experiencing some anxiety. So I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to invite you to we're going to first scan our body parts. I'm going to look at the time. Okay. We're going to quickly scan our body parts, and then we'll move into the meditation. So keep your eyes closed if that's comfortable. And let your attention go to the bottom of your feet and notice those feet, whether they're touching your socks, sandals, shoes, or the carpet or a floor. Or maybe you're outside and it's the earth. So just notice it and try not to assign any judgment to it, but just notice it and be with it. And move up into your knees and let your awareness continue. And move up into your thighs and to your seat. And notice, is your seat touching a soft cushion? Is it grass? Is it a hard chair? Just notice it. And from there, you're going to let your attention move up. Up your backside, so you want to be aware of your lower back, and of your front side, so your lower belly. And if it helps you, you can put your left hand on your belly. And notice your attention on your belly and on your lower back, and then everything in between. So the intestines, all the organs inside. Just let your attention go there. You don't need to know the name of the things in your body. Just let your attention go there. As it moves up to your mid-back and your upper stomach area, your rib cage area. And your attention is still moving up. And I'm going to invite you to put your right hand over your heart. And notice the warmth of your hand, or maybe the coolness of your hand as it touches your heart, whether it's your skin or a blouse or a shirt. Notice that. And notice your thoracic area, your back between your shoulders. And keep your attention there. While we're there, we're going to take 2 deep breaths. So you can take as deep as a breath you want, because no one can hear you. So ready? In, out. One more time. In, out. Let your attention go back down to your feet, up to your calves and legs and knees, your thighs, your seat, the lower part of your bodice, and up to your heart area and your back. We're staying connected, and now it's going to move up to our throat area and the back of our neck. And let your attention now move up to your face and behind your eyes and behind your sinuses and to the back of your head and up to the top of your head. And because we can play with things, imagine a halo on the top of your head and let your awareness go from the top of your head to that halo. And from that halo, let the energy that moves up there drape down your body, the sides of your body, all the way back to the ground or the carpet underneath your feet. Invite that energy to recirculate throughout your body. If you have too much energy, that's not good or bad, but if you have too much energy, let the energy land back in the earth instead of coming back up your feet. and give it back to the earth, because it can hold it for you. If you have anxious energy or energies that are uncomfortable, that you don't want, give it back to the earth and let it sit there, so that you can be present for the rest of this meditation. I'm going to invite you to keep your eyes closed so that you can stay inward and not be distracted by visuals outside. And so I'm going to ask you to move into your body a little more. Do what's comfortable and what's safe for you. So it's baby steps for people, and for others, dive right in, whatever feels safe for you. In this meditation, we're now going to open our awareness, our consciousness, our mind to the understanding that there have been things in the world like COVID, like loss, like hurts and injustices in the world. Let your mind hold that awareness, and let your mind be aware that that impacts the rest of your body, mind, and spirit. That impacts us. And sometimes we compartmentalize because the stress or the trauma is too much, and that's okay. So in your mind, we sometimes compartmentalize, so I'd like you to visualize a box, 2 boxes. One is for information received from news, from the world, from friends and family, from work. And the other box is information and ways that you value, things that are important to you. So I'm going to ask you to hold the 2 images of those boxes in your mind and allow your attention to drop down into your heart. So we're holding these things separate just for now, if you're comfortable. As you move into your heart, take a look at what drives you, what motivates your heart. What is meaningful to you? Who or what do you love? Try to identify one person, one thing, one entity, one belief system, something that is important to you and that you love. Think about the feelings that you have for that person or thing or entity. Notice where those feelings live in your body and how you physically feel. That's one side of the diamond in your heart. I'm going to invite you to look at another side of the diamond. What is it that you contribute to this person, entity, or thing that you love? How do you give of yourself? So notice how freely you do that. And notice if you're doing that without a desired outcome of gaining anything from it, but the desire to simply give. Now enter another side of that diamond. The diamond is going to include part of what your mind has. what are some of the things that you value in life, in your life? Is it love? Is it faith? Is it kindness to all people? Is it care for all sentient beings? Whatever it is, notice what it is. And then I'm going to ask you to put your hands together in prayer and bow to that part of yourself, that inner diamond. And when you're ready, put your right hand back on your heart. And notice that that's where you are. That's who you are. And that's your authenticity. And that who you want to be, where you want to be, can be driven by that part of you, by your most authentic, diamond shining self. And that from there, we're going to now take a look at those two boxes in our mind. Information that comes in and information that we already have. And that information is just that. It's information. It does not have to impact our authentic self. But we may have feelings, thoughts, judgments, reactions, responses to it. But it doesn't change our authentic self or the beautiful diamond within your heart. So sit with that and notice where you're at, how you feel with that. Oh, time. And let that feeling live inside of your body somewhere. So for me, I notice it in my lower belly. And that's okay for me. So I'm going to let it live there for a little bit. Can you let that part live in your body somewhere? And when you're ready, we're now going to come back to the external world. Your attention and your awareness is in the diamond part of where you come from, your authenticity, your shining loveliness that's within. People may or may not see it, but it's for you to have, and it's for you to operate from. And so you are not abandoning that diamond within you. You're simply letting it have home in your body somewhere. But we're coming back to the external world. So we're going to slowly integrate the external world while we're maintaining home for that diamond. So I'm going to invite your attention to go back to your heart and move up to your throat and move up to your face and the back of your eyes and your mind. And in your mind, you have those boxes. And if you need to, you can box those, you can put a lid on the box. And you are the opener or closer of them whenever you'd like. So if you want to turn on the news, information can come in, and then you can contain it and close it. Information only. You can take a break from external information and keep the box closed. Whatever is best for you. I'm going to ask you to move beyond those two boxes and move to the top of your head and to the outside of your head, to your ears. And just notice the sounds that are around you. And start to notice on the rest of your body the temperature of the room. Is it cool? Is it warm? Is it humid? And the sounds, what do you hear? Do you hear children? Do you hear a lawnmower? Do you hear nothing? Do you hear a cat? Just notice it. And on the count of 3, we're going to slowly open our eyes. And we're going to see the things around us. So 1, 2, 3. Slowly open your eyes. And I'm going to invite you to look to the right, look to the left. Look at the ground that is beneath you. And look above. What's above you? And so here we are back in the world. And we're bringing in information. I'm bringing in light. I'm bringing in an image. I'm bringing in 2 people. That's information. But I don't lose the heart, the diamond that's in my heart, what's resting in my lower belly. So thank you for today. And I would say that if this works for you, then continue to use this. Modify it however you need to and whatever works for you. So thank you for your time today, and I am going to pass it back to Baltimore.
Oh, thank you so much, Rita. I don't know about you guys, but I feel rejuvenated and just ready to run a mile. Maybe not so much, but I do feel rejuvenated. Rita, can you hand me my glasses, please? So thank you, Rita. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And yeah, let us know how that was for you. And if you don't want to do it publicly, email me, email Rita, and let us know. So in going on with what we had talked about, what have you learned about yourself in the past year? What have you learned about yourself in the past year? During my, on my birthday, I was pontificating life, what I had learned in the past year, what I appreciated, what I didn't appreciate, what I liked, what I didn't like. And I had written down some of my own lessons for me. Everybody may not agree with these, but I thought I would share with you guys just some, not all, of some of the things that I had come up with for me that I felt that I wanted to remember for this next year. And the first one was, after my accident, I learned this, that life is always seconds away from possibly being taken. You just never know. All the planning in the world doesn't spare any of us from an accident, or bad news, or life occurring on life's term and not ours. One has to set good boundaries, as uncomfortable as this might be, even if it hurts others. It's their responsibility to deal with their own emotions. I cannot make everyone happy at the expense of my own well-being. If it doesn't feel good being around someone, engaging with someone, at some point, it's my own fault for not making a change. Again, these were for me. I get that some of us are in situations where that we cannot, maybe if it's a family member we live with or whatever. But still, at some point, I need to take some responsibility, in why am I still engaging, and the onus is on me. I will no longer spare someone's feelings at the expense of my own. It's not my responsibility to make everyone feel okay when we leave each other's presence. It's not only me that needs to be thinking or think, how is what I'm about or want to say going to affect this other person? I deserve to be afforded that same courtesy. And I think most of you would know what I'm talking about when we think about what's going to come out of our mouth before it does, and we don't want to hurt someone, or we think about how we could say something with some semblance of or modicum of tact. And then maybe somebody just, boom, comes at us. And I think that we all have to take responsibility for our well-being, and that we should all be afforded that courtesy. If someone doesn't ask for my thoughts, I try my best to remember that unsolicited advice is not necessary. I don't know about you guys. I really don't like when people haven't seen me in a while and say, oh, you've gained weight. Really? Because I have a mirror. Those types of things that maybe we don't realize in the moment could be hurtful, but they are. Then there's those that I know that I get that are without intent. And if any of us have had experience from our person served, I had someone just yesterday say to me, that neighbor that I have, he's a really big fat guy like you. And, I had to, and I know that she meant no malintent by it. And she even caught herself and said, although you're beautiful, Baltimore, but I'm just letting you know that, he's just a really big guy like you. I'm like, well, thank you. If I've set a boundary and it's being questioned repeatedly, I may need to eradicate this person or persons from my life or cut my time with them. Being single another year, a lot of my single brothers and sisters out there, right? Being single another year while waiting for the right person or time is what works for me. Either way, I have been okay, I'm okay, and I will be okay. I know that. Change is difficult. However, what God and the universe has planned is usually better than I imagine. Go with the change. Don't fight it. An example of that for me was last year. There were a lot of changes that happened, and there were a lot of blessings in disguise that I would have never known. I'll leave it at that. Degrees don't make you an expert at your field. Any field. It just means you went to school. You will be judged by how you do your job and conduct yourself with others. And that's a reminder to myself. That's not judging other people. That regardless of how much schooling I have, I'm going to be judged on how Baltimore treats others, as well as the knowledge. I could be Dr. Gonzalez, and if I'm mean and rude to people and don't have compassion, and that's what I'll be remembered for, right? Getting older comes with so much wisdom that I didn't have before, that I love. I have to be open to always learning and never thinking I am the master of anything. There's always something more to learn. This is a big one for me. Living with depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, and panic and anxiety disorder is not my fault. Gone are the days of feeling embarrassed to say I live with these challenges. I think I do a damn good job living my life to the best of my ability, even with these ongoing challenges. And I mean that wholeheartedly. When I was doing that list that morning, I really, after the accident, I made a commitment to myself and said, your authentic self, had I have died that day, I don't feel that I would have been my authentic self, maybe about 80%. But yes, I live with a panic disorder. I live with OCD. I live with depression. And I didn't choose it. So I'm not going to feel ashamed of it. And that's where being May is Mental Health Month, that I hope that we can start breaking some of that stigma of, If I sat here and told you that I had a broken leg or I was diagnosed with some illness, people have empathy and all that. And I think a lot of the stigma we tend to do to ourselves in fear of how people will react. And I can tell you that I've had, for the most part, really good feedback from people, that are like, I love when you're transparent about what you're going through. But that also has taken me a long time to come to terms with, and not being insecure about it and feeling like I'm going to be judged. I can be a sensitive person, and I'm okay with that. And I am with the people that I love and care about. I'm a very sensitive person, but I'm okay with that. Life, getting older, is a gift, an honor not to be taken lightly. What's the alternative? And as I mentioned, changes are sometimes a blessing in disguise, right? I don't know about you guys, but I can say 9 out of 10 times in the past, let's say 10 years, when there's been a change that was hard, I'll be darned if right around the corner wasn't something that was 10 times better. So for me, when I wrote this list, and I would encourage you to write your own list if you have a chance of, your life lessons are going to be, probably a lot different than mine, or maybe some will be the same. And reminding yourself what works for you. So who do I want to be? How would I like to see my future self? And if you need to have a notebook and look back at this and rewind and look at the questions, and then even if you would like to, like I say, share, or where would I like to see my future self? What is your answer to that? Even as you first hear that, how would I like to see my future self? You know that I always go back to peace of mind, peace of mind, peace of mind. And how would I like to see my future self? I do have peace of mind right now, I can say that. But I would like to see myself embrace that, or teach others how to embrace that even more, and how to get to a place of having peace of mind. I'd like to see my future self doing peaceful retreats, and even if it were with coworkers or the public or whatever, just that's how I see when I look in the future. I am a certified life coach as well, and I would really love to see myself just being able to offer some form of something where people could just gather their peace, gather their bearings, even if just for a few days, and then go back to normal life and take those tools with them. But again, you have to ask yourself that question. Who do you want to be after this past year? What have you learned? How has it changed you? The picture says, the closer you come to knowing that you alone create the world of your experience, the more vital it becomes for you to discover just who is doing the creating. And I found that to be so powerful that I actually just got chills. I think all too often we forget that we are driving the car of our life, and we are at the wheel. Granted, yes, we have to work, and there are things that we have to do to survive. However, ultimately everything is a choice, right? Even if going to work is a choice. So I think we need to give ourselves props for, still choosing to do whatever it is that makes us survive, because we have to pay bills and we have to try our best. But I guess the question here is, what more can we do to help ourselves? And then knowing where to go to find that support is important too. Where do I begin? I think it's really quite simple when we really think about it. What changes do I think that I can make that are within reason? So even Rita meditating and showing you that, are we saying to do that 5 times a day, 7 days a week? Not at all. you get to choose, like I said earlier, 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or at all if you want to meditate. Maybe gardening is what does it for you. Maybe listening to heavy metal and breaking things is what makes you feel calm. You get to decide, and that is the wonderful thing about life, is that you are the decision maker and you are the one that gets to decide what's going to make you happy. Do we have directives from people? Yeah, we do. Of course we do, especially at work. Yeah. How would I like others to remember me when they meet me? We spoke a little bit about that, about all these versions out there. You know, I would really like people to remember Baltimore as someone that they liked being around. And for the most part, people tell me that. There are people out there that hate me, and I'm okay with that. Some of us just don't jive, right? And that's just real life. That doesn't mean that we're bad people. Some of us just don't click. But would I like others to remember me when they meet me? I'd really like them to remember me as being a nice person, you know, and somebody who cared about their opinion and the time they spent with me. I've often thanked you guys for the time that you spent here, that you've chosen to spend out of your life to be on here, and for whatever reason you're on here and would like to, you know, make some changes. Here's a big one. Do I practice what I preach? And ask yourself that for a second. Do you practice what you preach? Well, I take a drink of this. And ask yourself, what's your initial reaction? Rita, do you practice what you preach? Rita's still here in the audience. Brian, do you practice what you preach?
I try.
So I think I heard 2 I tries, right? And same here. I think I would hate to say, of course I do. I always practice what I preach. No, I would be lying. I try. And I think as long as we're trying, you know, ultimately at the end of the night, the end of the day, whatever time you go to bed, when we lay our heads down, you know, we have to answer to ourselves. Did I try today to do the best I could? And I remember years ago teaching my son, you know, if you can lay down at the end of the day and lay your head down knowing you did the best you could that day to intentionally not hurt anybody or anything, and you did your best, then you should feel proud. And I believe that for all of us, that we should feel proud, going back to that whole what's within reason. And we talked about this a little bit before. Am I watering my own lawn? I first heard that years ago, and it was about, so my goal, and it kind of still is, but was to do couples therapy, because I was very, very unhappy with the divorce rate in the United States. And so when I first went to college, my goal was to become a therapist and work with couples to try and reduce the divorce rate. Maybe that was grandiose. I don't know how I thought that I was going to lower that percentage, but I thought, God, I just think because from what I had seen in my experience, and even with my own experience in relationships, was a lack of focusing on this relationship that I was in, and giving it all that nurturing and watering it needed. So again, before, and I happened to be cheated on at a certain time when I had heard about this, that saying, you know, about looking over and that grass is so green and you want to go over there and you want to go lay on that grass and, you know, put your toes in their sand. And, well, you got to look at your own grass and ask yourself if you're watering it. And a reminder that you are the expert on yourself. I would really, really implore you to, as I said, rewind, go back, grab a notebook. And if you want somebody to chat with about it, feel free to reach out to me and let's set up a time. You know, if you want to email me about it, I know that sometimes it kind of feels like, well, why am I doing it if nobody's going to see it? more than happy to take a look at it, and listen to what you have to say. And last but not least, next month, June 16th, 2021, I believe is this number 15, Brian? This is number 15. So it's well over a year that we've been doing these webinars, Brian and I. And if you, as always, could please send over any ideas, comments, anything that you would like, as you have done. I appreciate it. And much love to all of you. Have a blessed day, and we will see you next month. Bye-bye.